The Banshees of Inisherin is one of the most surprising films of 2022, winning the Best Screenplay Award at the 2022 Venice Film Festival, and nominated for Best Picture at the 2023 Oscars. It is directed by Martin McDonagh, who also is the director of the critically acclaimed 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, in 2017. The story takes place on a fictional, rustic, and sleepy Irish island. A war raging on the mainland has not affected the island's monotonous and boring life. This seemingly peaceful and harmonious state is suddenly disrupted by a pair of friends, Porrick and Colm.
I just don't like you no more.
You do like me.
I don't.
You liked me yesterday.
Oh, did I? Yeah.
I thought you did.
However, these two fellows are already a strange pair. They have very different hobbies and personalities. Colm is a violinist and a silent philosopher, while Porrick is a dairy farmer and a talkative old man. McDonagh is a master of tragedy. He tends to place the source of conflict outside the plot, hiding the moment when the conflict appeared and only displaying the derived effects patiently. He seems to have some kind of fetish, as he likes witnessing small tragedies happening like dominoes.
I just have this tremendous sense of time slipping away in me, Porrick. And I think I need to spend the time I've left thinking and composing and trying not to listen to any more of the dull things that you have to say for yourself, but I'm sorry about it. I am like.
Colm cuts off his friendship because he wants to focus on composing in his limited remaining life. This means he cannot waste time chatting with Porrick anymore. Porrick, who cannot fully understand Colm's existential anxiety, falls into self-doubt and fear of loneliness. He is unwilling to give up and always tries to salvage this friendship, which triggers Colm's more intense behavior. The atmosphere of the film gradually turns from humor to horror. Colm chooses self-harm to stop Porrick's continued entanglement.
I have a set of shears at home, and each time you bother me from this day on, each day you bother me more, another I'll take off, and I'll give you, until you see sense enough to stop, or until I have no fingers left. Does this make things clearer to you?
This absurd behavior is theatrical creation of McDonagh's imagination, of course, but it also comes from his understanding of Irish politics and history. In fact, the war in the film was the final struggle of the Irish Civil War in April 1923. This war is not just a backdrop for the crumbling friendship. On the contrary, it is what the director really wants to imply. These two friends who end their relationship represent the two sides who participated in the Irish Civil War. Colm represents the educated and arrogant, cultural people, while Porrick is the symbol of the relatively rustic and dull farmer and working classes. The Irish Civil War also occurred between the pro-British faction with higher education and the farmers and workers who played an important role in the war. The two sides were intimate comrades in arms just a few years ago during the Irish War of Independence, but they became enemies overnight because of their different political stances. This pain is more unbearable than political killings. Just like suddenly broken off relationship between Colm and Porrick, which brings them pain. Colm's self-harm behavior thus mainly contains two layers of meaning. On the one hand, the rupture of friendship with comrades like siblings is like cutting off a part of his own body. Even if the disagreement is severe, he would rather harm himself than hurt Porrick. On the other hand, when McDonagh looks back on that period of history today, those disagreements and mutual hostility now seem so absurd. Self-harm is a quirky behavior that dramatically expresses the absurdity of the real world. A cocktail of humor and violence has always been McDonagh's specialty. If you appreciate his films, it means you have learned to savor this taste. In his works, violence often hides behind a series of mysterious pranks, and suddenly bursts out at the appropriate time and place. This is also the reason why he leaves an impression on people as an absurdist playwright, and why each of his films is a deliciously melancholic horror dance.